Joining me now, the A-Team Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and Fox News contributor Michael Goodwin, Democratic consultant Hank Sheinkopf, and co-editor of Investors Business Daily, Michael Ramirez. Gentlemen, you guys cannot stop talking about Jennifer Love Hewitt insuring her cleavage for $5 million. What do you think? Should it have gone for more?
It wasn't
Hank?
the cleavage she insured, actually. It was something else that's related
it was
to the
the whole...
It was the whole thing. I mean, should have gone for more.
I mean, I couldn't concentrate on my job at hand. You guys are all buzzing about this.
I thought this was a business show, Lori.
Well, insurance policies, and I know there's a very specific insurance company that handles matters such as that. But let me, to your point, Michael Goodwin, get to the news of the day. The Federal Department of Veterans Affairs saying today its mental health professionals will not comply with new gun laws in New York that, get this, require reporting the names of patients they believe likely to hurt themselves or others. You said this raises some interesting points.
Well, look, there were many aspects to the New York law that was rushed through very quickly in Albany by Governor Andrew Cuomo. But I thought this was one of the more unique ones because it dealt with the mental health thing, which is so much prevalent in all these big mass shootings. And this was what it was about, was the mass shootings. Almost all of these young men involved in mass shootings used assault rifles, but they all had mental disorders that were fairly well known. So here you had a law that tried to address that by saying mental health professionals have to report to the police if a patient is a threat to themselves or to others. It's very problematic in the mental health community.
Because, Hank, let me bring you in here.
Sure.
How do you characterize what a threat is? You know, you're looking at me going, well, maybe Lori's just having an off day. Should I be reporting her here?
There is a real problem between protecting individual liberties and protecting society from potential violence. And what do you give up first? That's really a serious problem, and I don't think there's a clear way to deal with it under any circumstance.
Michael Ramirez, any thoughts on the best way to deal with this problem of mental health in this country at crisis levels and the gun control debate?
Well, you know, that's the one factor that seems to run through all these big, atrocious, tragic incidents that we've had. But these mental health doctors are already required to report their patients and determine whether they should be voluntarily assigned or involuntarily assigned under stringent medical care. What we need to do is we need to take the emotion out of the issue completely.
Absolutely.
And talk about, you know, the Second Amendment right that is constitutional and the reasons behind it. And the reason why Madison had it was to protect us from, you know, a government that would, a tyrannical government that would take our rights away.
And you can see, Michael, everybody's in agreement with you, shaking heads all around. We're going to leave it there for a moment, but we will be right back with our A-Team in moments. Back with the A-Team, and Congressman Paul Ryan drops his second budget, federal budget, tomorrow, saying that he plans to, Michael Goodwin, defund Obamacare. We know this, and that it will actually balance the budget in 10 years versus nearly 30 years, which was the proposal from his first budget.
Right.
What do you think? A lot of people say this is dead on arrival, but boy, it's Republicans marking their territory, no?
Yeah, I guess, but I sort of feel like that territory has already been marked, and the people of the United States said no thanks. I mean, President Obama was reelected, so Obamacare is not going to be defunded. So let's get on with it. Let's get on with the real issues. And I think, frankly, it's a bit of a lazy gamesmanship. I'm disappointed in Paul Ryan. I like him. I think he's very smart. I think he should put his time to crafting ways to cut the budget around existing laws that are not going to go away. This is a fantasy.
But I think it's really a challenge. I mean, just to put it as simply as you can, because, look, I hear what you're saying. You're calling for perhaps a grand bargain, but we are so indebted. I mean, we've got such a fiscal mess that, I mean, a 10-year plan to balance the budget, I mean, that's as good as anyone has put forth, and it's an improvement from, it's even much more conservative than his first budget. So compared to the Democrats who haven't even passed the budget since 2009, right. I mean, it's like you got to say, listen, we're moving somewhere.
This is DOA, nice circus, let's move on to the next act.
So what should it be? What, you know, is it going to be another super committee and another, you know, deadlock Congress? Michael Ramirez, weigh in.
Well, you know, the problem is the Democrats don't have a plan to cut spending at all. In fact, this president just wants to keep the growth of spending to continue. And the real solution to all of this is really economic growth. How do we stop them from impeding economic growth? I mean, the Ryan plan basically wants to take the spending curve down from 4.9% to 3.4% growth. If you actually limited spending to 2%, you could actually get rid of the entire deficit in 10 years. better yet, if you could engage the economy and get it to grow at 4% a year like it did during the Reagan years, you could take $5 trillion off the deficit right off the bat. We need to be thinking about ways to keep our economy going. This latest
well, nobody's going to disagree
report,
with you. Yeah, I was actually just going to follow up with that. The jobs report was encouraging, but a lot of the economists are forecasting that number will be reined in here once the sequester cuts go into effect. Don't have a lot of time in the show. The big to-do in New York City today is the federal judge overturning the soda ban instituted by Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Everybody's shaking their head on this one. You know, of course, the mayor's office is saying they're going to appeal this, but enough already.
Well, look, I know the judge probably was right on the law, but I do sympathize with the mayor in his attempts, which is obesity is a big problem. And if you want the freedom to do this, what I say to people, go ahead, sign a waiver saying you won't make a claim on the public dollars for your health care.
Guys, I got to run.
Mike Bloomberg will be known as the most important and significant public health mayor in the history of the United States when this is
All right, history will determine that. Thanks, gentlemen, the A-team tonight. And that just about does it for Lou Dobbs tonight.